Welcome to She Counts, the Real Talk podcast for women in accounting. We're your hosts, Questian Telka
and Nancy McClelland.
And every episode, we're digging into the real experiences, challenges, and unspoken truths of life in this profession.
Because if you've ever felt like you're the only one, you're not. And you shouldn't have to figure it out alone.
A special thanks to our Season 2 sponsors, Forwardly, Relay, and Client Hub. We are so grateful to them for helping us bring these conversations to life, enabling us to share out loud what everyone's thinking, but no one's saying. Learn more about them on our sponsors page at shecounts.show.
Today's episode is called Unmuted, Turning Down the Self-Doubt, Turning Up the Volume. And we have a special guest with us, our friend and mentor, Misty Megia of the Theater of Public Speaking. Welcome to She Counts, Misty.
Oh my God. I just want to watch you all do your thing. I love this so much. You don't even know.
We're so excited to have you. And so everyone knows, Misty is the CEO and creative force behind Theater of Public Speaking, where she helps women and underrepresented voices unmute themselves and own the stage, whether that's a conference room, a technical breakout, or a keynote spotlight. With a background spanning theater, corporate leadership, and coaching, Misty's programs transform confidence, storytelling, and presence. And Nancy and I are both very proud graduates of her TOPS program and courses and are proudly board certified.
Very proudly board certified. As a matter of fact, for those who are watching as opposed to listening, I am pointing to my board certification, which sits right behind me on this fantastic, along with my awards and my Owlie. We love launching each episode with a story. And Misty, I know you have one to share with us.
Oh my. All right. A story. I knew this was coming. I knew it was. Let's see. Last year, I'm going to do this because it's, even though it's a year ago, it's super topical. I was in Armenia working on a film that's coming out in a few weeks.
Yay!
And we're over the moon. On a rare day off, I was in the apartment that I shared with Angela, the director, and we were surrounded by Post-it notes and scripts and half-finished coffee. And I asked her, I always wanted to do a documentary because I have phenomenal women in my life. What would be the starting point for me? And she didn't even look up and she said, I hate documentaries. And while we're at it, I'm not a fan of rom-coms either.
Oh my God. Wait a minute. So not only does she hate documentaries, she's not a fan of rom-coms, and you're literally filming a rom-com.
A rom-com.
I'm filming a rom-com.
Okay.
So I did the RCA dog head tilt of what?
You're like, so next on your list is a documentary then?
The thing that I loved about it, though, she said to me that her end goal was a sci-fi film that she wrote. And she knew that she wasn't ready for that yet. So she did documentaries first to learn how to tell stories and frame a scene. And then she wrote the rom-com we were working on because it was a massive playing ground. And the stakes were low, but the lessons were high. Then she brought in some of the best people to actually make mistakes in front of and grow. And every step was a rehearsal for her work. And the lesson was so pivotal for me coming back after the filming, watching a woman who fully owned the climb, not waiting for permission, not waiting to be ready, not apologizing for learning. She was building her dream, like one imperfect moment at a time. And to me, I think we often wait to begin until we are an expert or feel like an expert, but we need to begin because that's how we become.
That is so beautiful and impactful. And speaking of learning, I love the fact that you're still learning from all of these experiences and wrapping things like this into your own journey. That is incredible.
if we're ever done learning, like I would say we're at the end of our days. Like we are
Absolutely.
constantly consuming and going, oh, tell me more. What life lessons for you? I still want to do a documentary though.
I still want you to do a documentary also. So we're on the same page
All
there.
right,
And
right,
I
right.
love the rom-coms. I love the documentaries. I also love sci-fi though. So I think I'm pretty much
Oh, me
signed up for
too.
this woman's entire, yeah. Yeah. Question,
Yeah.
you and I are going to have movie night sometime soon.
I know. Science fiction is my absolute favorite, as I've talked
Same.
about before. So,
Yeah. Well, Misty, this story, even though I didn't know which one you were going to tell, I knew it would be the perfect segue into the work that you do with theater of public speaking. You help women unmute themselves, which I love. Don't forget to unmute yourself. But what does that actually mean? And I think more importantly, what are some of the ways that we're accidentally hitting that mute button in the first place?
Yeah. It's funny to me because I think a lot of people just equate it with speaking, of unmuting yourself. But to me, it is that fully becoming. There are so many different components in our life, whether it's our creativity, whether it's how we show up in a space, how we support one another, that are a constant muscle to exercise to go, how do I want to show up and become and be the best person that I can be? And how do I intentionally show up in a space as that human? And to me, that's the act of unmuting. Like, what is it that we dream to do? And what are the steps to get towards that dream? So to me, it's like a small piece of that is the public speaking. It's the skill set that helps us not only be at the table, but speak up at that table. But then it's also that moment of just going, what do I want? How do I get quiet and listen and go, oh, that's what I want to do. And what are those steps to get there?
That resonates so deeply with me because I do not have very many Post-it notes around my computer like I know Question does. I don't have very many, but I do have a few. One of them is remembering the formula for cost of goods sold and the beginning balance and the ending balance when filling out a tax return. But right next to that, it says, be the best version of yourself you can be. But who is that? So it's not just reminding me to try to be the best version of myself, it's reminding me to make sure that it's my own definition of who I am. And I think that your description of unmuting is just that's why it resonates so deeply. Because I feel like we need to keep asking that question. It's easy to get lost and start being who we think the world wants us to be, as opposed to finding it within ourselves.
that was very, very difficult for me throughout the process of going through the TOPS program. It was like when I was really young, I was very, very vocal, very outspoken, and I would get a lot of feedback that told me to mute myself. It was like, what you're saying is it bothers other people, and it's this whole idea like that you have to say things as a woman, I think, especially in a certain way so that you don't upset someone else or offend them, and so that your viewpoint falls in line with whatever it's supposed to at any given time. And going through that entire process for me of unmuting wasn't just about learning to get up on a stage and speak and feel comfortable with it. It was about unmuting my views and feeling comfortable sharing openly the thoughts that I have and not being scared of offending someone. Of course, I
Or
don't want to offend them, but
or
Yeah.
what we talk about, Question, not being scared to offend someone, being scared and doing it anyway,
that's right.
right? Like it's
Yeah.
okay. The being scared part's okay because it's very natural, but you're doing it anyway every day of your life. I want to know because obviously I'm very proud of the fact that I was the one who was like, I think you need to meet Misty and I think you need to look into this program is one of my like great accomplishments in life is ushering you in that direction. And then you totally took it and made it your own. I would love for you to share with us an example of muted Question before you did this program and unmuted Question who we know today.
Yeah, well, muted version of me was being absolutely terrified to go into a Zoom meeting and speak to someone or to go to a conference and walk up to someone and have a conversation. And that's completely different now. I mean, I would be in a work call and I would have I definitely knew that I had value and that the input that I had was valuable, but I was always so scared to speak up about it, didn't know how to jump into a conversation, was part of the issue as well. And once I went through the program, it really, like, just like Misty was kind of hinting on, like it made me have to exercise the muscle of speaking up and getting comfortable with it. And it I transitioned from being scared of speaking up in a Zoom meeting to one of the things that I had to do. It's part of my job. It's a big part of my firm is being able to present in board meetings. And then one of the one of the things that I don't love about my job is that not only do I have to sell my value to an executive director because I work with all of these nonprofits, but I'm constantly having to sell my value to their board members as well and to the finance committee. And so being able to go in and represent myself and help them understand the value that I bring has completely shifted my ability. It's just a confidence issue going into that in a huge way. So that, and then more like on a bigger scale, I guess I would say would be our podcast and then getting up on stages and presenting in front of 400 people, which I never thought I would do in my life. And now I've done twice. So,
So
Yay.
crazy to me. It's so crazy to me because Question, when you came, it was really just that small thing of confidence and networking. And then like you're getting paid to speak, you're on stages, you and Nancy start a podcast. I'm like, who is this woman? And I love it.
now I won't shut up. That's the problem.
Oh, that's
Right,
not a problem.
no.
Well, and actually, thank you very much for inadvertently totally leading us into the next topic, which is self doubt and negative self talk, because you just said, and now I won't shut up, right? Like, one of Questions in my favorite cartoons is a person who's talking to their therapist and they're saying, yeah, I engage in too much negative self talk, like a stupid idiot.
Well, and funny enough, what's funny about that is I was like, before when we were planning the episode initially and we were coming up and brainstorming the idea for it, that was we were thinking of titling it that because it was just like so ironic and appropriate.
Absolutely. So it always cracks us up. But there's so much truth to it. So Misty, I know you've got a lot of thoughts about why you think we give these negative voices in our heads so much more airtime than the thousand positives that should be drowning them out. There are a lot of studies about this, but I know you've probably read almost all of them. Can you talk to us about this topic?
Yeah, to me, it's so many different things, but the thing that always resonates with me is that our mind is wired to keep us safe. And that negative comment can be perceived as a threat. So your mind thinks it's unsafe, so it will circle around it like crazy to figure out how to be safe and go, don't forget you're not safe. You're not safe. You're not safe. You're not safe. And so to counteract that, we kind of have to break it down and start looking at it. To I have found that it's one of three things, and it doesn't mean that it's only one. It could be a combination of all of them, but it's either the people, the skill, or the situation is causing anxiety and fear. Is it the person that is saying the unkind thing? Is it the skill set? Are you lacking doubt in your skill set and how you showed up? Or is it the overall situation that is causing anxiety? Is it getting out? Did they post it on social? Like, what is causing you to ruminate and stir that your body doesn't feel safe? And then get that work back plan to figure out how to get back to safety.
I love that you brought up basically what you're talking about is negativity bias, right? And
For
you
sure.
turned me on to Tara Swart. Am I saying her name right? Tara
I
Swart.
love her.
I know. I love her
Yeah.
too. And we should put that'll be in the show notes. She has some YouTube videos that are amazing and also some books that talk about she's a neuroscientist essentially,
Mhm.
and it deep dives kind of into some of what you were saying about that negativity bias and where that originated and why it's there. And it just really getting to the root of that helps you understand how to overcome it, like you were saying.
You have to come up with a plan. Like a lot of people are like, oh, just start thinking positive, just be happy, joyful thoughts and like counteract it. And that is so difficult. Your body and your mind are so much better when it has an action to take and a specific action to take. If it can see a checklist, it'll be like, yes, give me the checklist, give me the step by step so I can move forward. But a lot of times we just think, oh, we're going to ruminate and it's going to get better. We know that's not the case. So, like, okay, how do we step back and go, what is causing this? What is really at the root? Is it my feelings are hurt? Is it me not, I didn't put my best foot forward? Like, how can I adjust that next time?
You mentioned action items, like coming up with action items. Do you have examples?
Absolutely. So, for me, I will work on a keynote and I know all the steps, right? I know all the steps. I ideate here, I write my draft, I do this. I will question it like crazy. Is this the right thing? Even though I've done my audience research. And what I found is when I'm in that space of like, oh, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know, and I'm circling, I have to stop and go, Misty, what's making you nervous right now? What is causing the procrastination to not even work on it? Because the procrastination is just me going, something is afraid and I don't want to move forward. So I'm just going to ignore it and fold laundry and clean the house versus actually.
Procrastinate.
Oh my gosh, laundry is the most wonderful thing in the entire world. If it weren't for laundry, I just don't know what I would do because it makes me feel like I'm somehow being productive while I'm procrastinating. I mean,
Yes.
wow. I'm so grateful for laundry.
I end up in a social media spiral. So when I am procrastinating working on a presentation, it's like I'll be working on it and my brain will just come to like a moment where I am like, ugh, and I stop and then all of a sudden I find myself on my phone doom scrolling. And I'm like, put it down, stop.
But that's the exact thing. So when I now recognize that in myself of like, ooh, I am putting other things ahead of me working on this presentation, what is going on? And I will look at it and I look at it and go, okay, am I nervous about the people I'm going to be presenting to? Okay, no. Am I worried about the situation? It's a live event with, 700 people. No, that doesn't really bother me. Is it my skill? And I will look at it and a lot of times like, ooh, I don't feel strong about my opener. Let me fix that. Or I don't
Absolutely.
feel strong about this piece of it. Let me go find more data. And so once I have an action plan because I've kind of focused on where that anxiety is coming from, then I can move forward and I stop procrastinating and I go, ooh, all right, now I know what to work on.
And I
Great.
love what you said about breaking it down. Like that's so important is like the first thing when you're trying to come up with the actions is breaking apart breaking it down and trying to figure out like where is it coming from and then just getting more granular so you can try and work through what's causing the anxiety.
Yeah,
And I
it's
think it's
helpful.
really important to um I'm actually going to back out a little bit from this
Yeah.
and say that Misty, you and I are both cognitive behavioral therapy nerds. And a lot of what you're talking about here, especially, and Question and I have talked about it quite often on the podcast about the part of your brain that's trying to keep you safe. That's your lizard brain. That's what we call it because it is the oldest part of your brain and that's its job to keep you safe. But it leads to a lot of what in CBT are called cognitive distortions. So, what you're doing by saying, let me break it down, is the step that you're taking right there is going meta. You're noticing, because you have to notice yourself being in anxiety. You have to notice yourself in negative self-talk. You have to notice that it's happening, which takes a lot of practice and honestly a lot of friends who can see it in you helping you to point it out. That has been really helpful for me. And in that moment you go, wait a minute, this means something. And then it's in that moment where you go, okay, wait, I got to go meta, and now I have to look at these breakdowns. So I feel like it's really important. It's very reassuring to me, actually, that you turn to laundry or whatever, that you also have that anxiety procrastination that the rest of us do. And
So
one of the
she's like,
things,
it's normal, right? And Misty's normal.
she's
We're like,
normal.
we look at her as like, no, she doesn't go through any of these things.
It's like the stars, they go shopping too.
Yes.
Yes,
Actually,
pretty much.
Kristen, that's exactly my point. Thank you. Yes, Misty's normal, and something that in all of the work that I've done with the concept of imposter voice or imposter phenomenon, one of the things that we talk about is that men tend to move through that faster than women. It's not that men don't have these same anxiety moments, or that they don't have these imposter voices, or they don't have any of these other things that our lizard brain is doing to help us feel safe. It's not that they don't have those, but they can see themselves in a situation of success. They can see themselves more than we can, more easily than we can. So they move through this faster than women tend to. And you've seen that a lot in the work that you do, Misty.
I absolutely have. In the corporate world, I have everybody that shows up within a team, and I work with them, so not just women. But it's true. The men have imposter syndrome. They are telling me the stories of just having massive anxiety. It is across the board. But Nancy, you're absolutely right. They move through it faster. And I don't have enough data to say that it's because they get over it, or it's because they have systems in place that actually support them more so. They are more recognized for their brilliant ideas. They are more often seen as leaders from biases. So there is like a system of beliefs that kind of helps facilitate their growth, that I think kind of expedites it more than women. Because I will be in a call with somebody, and I was with a head of sales not too recently, and he was going for a VP role, and he had massive anxiety, and he was going up against somebody else that I know, which was a female who had more experience, and he ended up getting the role. And it was just interesting.
Wow.
It's interesting to see, and it's because the I think the hiring, they see themselves in him.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just a system that kind of sees men and women a little bit differently. So it's tough to go, oh, okay, we can, as women, we just have it harder. It takes us longer to get through it. I don't think that's necessarily true. I think it's a system around us that
Yeah, it's
fosters it.
structural as well
Yeah.
as the internal part of it is the internal voice, and part of it is the actual structure that we're surrounded by. It's what Question is always talking about. Like, we need to change the culture, not just the policy.
Yeah,
Yeah. Because we
absolutely.
internalize a lot of the external conversations. I mean, how did those even become internal conversations?
Yeah,
We weren't born with that.
Yeah. No,
that's so
it was
true. So how do we bridge that gap between, you were talking about, it's trying to keep us safe. Our voices are trying to keep us safe. That's
Yep.
we know this logically. Okay. How do we bridge that gap between going meta, doing these things that you're talking about, and actually developing that knowing with a big K instead of a small K, like emotionally knowing something. Question and I were talking about this earlier today when we actually had a meeting, and she was really anxious about something, and we were talking about, well, you can know something logically. No, wait, I was the one who was anxious. I'm just now remembering the contradiction. This one was on me.
I know, it was like,
Yeah,
what was
Carol,
it
what
she
was
just
that?
said? I don't know.
Questian had done something. That's what it was. You had done something that I initially interpreted emotionally, even though logically I knew better, but emotionally I interpreted it
Oh, that's what
with
it
all of the
was.
fear and the safety and the need for like, wait a minute, I need to be on my defensive here. Knowing with the logic and feeling, knowing internally with my whole self, how do we bridge that gap? And I do believe that learning how to do that is part of what gets us away from the negative self-talk.
Yeah, if I had the absolute answer, I think everybody is a little bit different when it comes to
Okay,
that
but
of
I
what's
want the
going on
absolute answer.
internally.
Can you tell me
I
right
know.
now how to do
Let
this?
me
I would
let
like
me
to
give you
fix
a one
this.
size fits all.
Come on, Misty.
Yeah, I mean, in all honesty, we truly talk to ourselves worse than we would talk to our best friend.
Oh, absolutely. Like, without a
And
doubt.
right? And so sometimes my negative talk, I have to name it my best friend Christina, who Nancy you've met.
Who is
And
awesome, and I totally understand why she's your best friend because she's fabulous.
thank you, I agree. To me, when I go, all right, Christina, I know that is going to shift the conversation in my head because she would never say the things that are going on in that
Wow,
moment.
so you
Yeah.
actually you don't just give yourself a another name, like you actually visualize your actual best friend.
Yeah.
Eh,
To me,
That's
she's my
beautiful.
biggest supporter. She's my cheerleader. She also will give it to me honestly if I'm not doing something right. So to me, having somebody that is outside of yourself that you can just picture, you can go, okay, they would not say this to me. They would, and
Nor
I
would
wouldn't
you
say it to
say,
them,
yeah, that's what I was
right?
going to say. You wouldn't say that
Yeah.
to them. So then you start to think about these things that we say to or tell ourselves. And it's like, what would I say to my friend if she were expressing the same self doubt to me? And I think that's
Or,
a really good
yes.
tip. And I forget to use that a lot.
You
Question. The
know,
other thing that hit me hard years ago, I took a class. I thought it was a business class, and it ended up being a very woo woo, like mind thing, which I was like, not my vibe at first. And then I fell in love with it. But one of the things they had us do is they had us put a picture of ourselves as a little kid next to our bed. So anytime we had that negative self talk, we would see our younger self and go, would you be saying that to this little girl?
That's
oh
so
girl.
powerful.
Oh
That's
my
so,
gosh. I've never heard that advice. I think I would cry every time I saw her and be like, "You're not going to do that to her."
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You go
yeah.
into self protect mode of like, no, I would never say this to that little thing. I'm just like, why did you do that? Why did you?
Yeah.
What is that X, Y, and Z? Okay.
So we just need to have a photo of ourselves on our like computer desktop, right? On the screen. And it's like, okay, if I'm saying this nasty thing about myself to myself or having these thoughts, I better pull up this picture and think about who I'm telling this to, because that's really, I mean, that's, we're all just that little girl inside still, right?
Yeah. The people pleasing young girl who would be so impressed with how far you've made it, who couldn't even dream of where you are and what you're doing and what you've achieved. Like,
If my little girl self knew that I were going to be an accountant, she'd be like, "What? Are
mine
you
too.
kidding me?" She would totally not believe it. So you're right about that part.
But it's the dancing accountant, so she would probably
Yeah.
believe that.
She would believe that part. You're right.
You
She would
know,
definitely
what's
believe that part.
what's interesting is when I was a little girl, I was spicy. I mean, like I say, Misty, you and I had this conversation, and one day I'm going to write a keynote around this, but it's like I was born a feminist. And like I was on fire that I could do anything any of the boys around me did. In fact, I beat all of the boys in pull-ups in elementary school. And it was like
Pull-ups.
pull-ups. Yeah. I mean, I was a gymnast at
Wow.
the time. So, I had a lot
I
of upper
didn't
body
know
strength.
that about you. I thought I knew all the things, but I didn't know your pull-up secret.
Nope, that's my little claim to fame right there. But I yeah, like, and then just sneaking back to muting and the self-doubt, like, that was something I developed when I got a little older. And so it was like this older childhood, like, or older child years, like maybe late elementary school, middle school through high school. And then, I'm just kind of, I mean, the spicy's always been there, let's be honest. You guys know this, but I'm like much more outward with it now.
And we love you for it. We love our spicy question.
Right.
Well, actually, you keep, I think, I don't know if you're doing this on purpose or not, but you keep just beautifully segueing us into the next section, because one of the things about being spicy that I think is helpful toward, or rather being spicy is something that can be helpful toward leaning into self-promotion. And we're both kind of spicy, but I would not say we're always so great at self-promotion. Misty knows that when she has Q&As, this is always one of my big questions is, I know that for the podcast to be successful, for Ask a CPA to be successful, for the work that I'm doing as a public speaker to be successful, I need to self-promote. But I am turned off by self-promotion. It's icky, right? It's ew, I don't like
Well,
it.
it's because we were told when we were little girls, don't brag. You're not allowed to brag. Don't talk about yourself too much.
Yep.
Don't, like, I heard that over and over and over again. It was like, oh, you don't brag about whatever achievement you have or accomplishment. And so that's just deeply ingrained. And then I get embarrassed and feel like,
Yeah. It's a
yeah,
double-edged sword, because, like, on the one hand, you know that it is necessary for your success. It's absolutely necessary for success, but it is sometimes judged harshly. So, like, how do we walk that line? Let's pretend that we've worked through a lot of our thoughts on negative self-talk, and we're like, okay, all right,
it's like,
I've
I'm
practiced and I've
good.
gone meta and I'm talking to my lizard brain and I'm ready. And then we go, ew, self-promotion. I'm going to feel like either a jerk because I'm over promoting, or I'm feeling like a fraud because I don't maybe truly believe whatever it is I'm promoting. Misty, I know you have some thoughts about how can we self-promote in a way that feels consistent with our values but isn't underselling ourselves.
Yeah. For moving from the corporate environment where I was consistently promoting a tool or a product or a service of some sort, to then this company where I'm promoting myself and my services, it took me a while to have that shift. It really did. And what stays in me is, which you all know, I've said this a lot to you. There are so many people out there to tell you no. Do not be the first one to say it. Like, if you're like, oh, no one needs to hear this, no one's going to buy this feels gross and promoting, you aren't doing it for everybody out there that exists. You're doing it for that one person that needs your services, that needs to hear what you have to say on this podcast, that needs that little bit of validation to go, I can do this too. And if we take ourselves out of the mix of like, it is not about me, and do what both of you do so naturally of spotlighting other people and other things, then it just becomes, I'm spotlighting a service. I'm spotlighting something that I know will help you feel less alone. Like, that's what this whole podcast is all about. And so you promoting it is just saying, hey, there's a space for you where you count.
Yes.
That's
Oh my
not
God.
a self-promotion.
This is like the best therapy session I've had all week.
That's why every time I see Misty, I cry.
We're doing really good, Question. We're not crying yet.
Yeah.
No, we're
Really
not.
good.
It's not over yet.
I do
And-
love that quote, though, that you try not to make a practice of being the first person to tell yourself no. And there is actually a lot of scientific background here. And so this is something that I've tried to really dig into to convince myself that this is something that is okay to do. Self-affirmation interventions actually help people maintain a sense of self-integrity when they're facing that psychological threat, like you were talking about earlier. So not only does the negative self-talk is what we're automatically doing when our lizard brain is trying to protect us, but if we can work through that and lean into self-affirmation, we can actually reduce that defensiveness and increase openness to feedback. Oh my goodness. Increase openness to feedback, which means that you helping people to unmute themselves via affirmation, it's not just feel good. Like it can literally shift how we're responding to internal voices of doubt
yeah.
or external voices of threat.
I appreciate that, Nancy, because I think too, when it's that self affirmation, I firmly believe that along with that self affirmation, you have to have those proof points that it's possible. And so we don't take enough proof points that we didn't die doing something.
I mean, I'm not dead yet, but
I posted on social media about my podcast and I didn't die. Here's 1 point for that.
that reminds me of Kate Johnson. Whenever Kate gives her talk on using video in your business, one of her slides, it's funny because she delivers it very seriously as if it's like a scientific study, but she was just like, it has been proven, it has absolutely been proven that nobody who has gone on video to try to promote their business has died yet because of having done it. You realize what she's saying, and it's like, oh yeah, Kate,
Exactly.
I guess that's true.
Like, oh, that, and to a point, I want to bring a point that you said earlier too, back to the forefront, because I think this is very important. It's that emotional contagion piece, right? Of it's kind of who you surround yourself with and the community. Because if you are surrounding yourself with people that are believing in you and think you are the sun, moon, and stars, but if that is based in reality because they see the work that you put in, then that will be contagious to you. If you're surrounding yourself with people that are self-doubters that go, oh, who are you to talk about that? Then that's what you start to believe, right? Of who am I? Because it feeds that little negative piece that just wants to be fed a little bit more to go, oh, yeah, you're right. So it really is being very careful about the community that you curate, that it is one of abundance and that shows you the joy and the lift.
And I want to lean into what you just said, though. You said people who are not just fluffing you up, but people who legitimately are impressed with you. They're legitimately proud of you. They're not, it's not just blowing sunshine up your rear end. They're
Yes.
actually saying you did this thing and it was important and it was question. You wrote that session, a 100-minute session, main stage at the Women Who Count conference on sexual harassment. You changed lives. I have no doubt that you changed lives with that. And
Well,
I
we
genuinely
did.
believe this. We did, but you spearheaded that whole thing. And you did it. This was, Question and I take turns planning the episodes and doing the biggest
Prep.
part
The
of
legwork,
the
yeah.
prep work. Yeah. And
Mhm.
this was Question's dream. And I'm telling you, but if you thought that I were if you thought that I were just saying, "Oh my God, that was so great. That's so good." Like, I'm serious, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. Yes. I know. I definitely know that you will tell me if I'm full of shit. Like,
I love how you turned that around again. But I
But
do,
that's the
Misty,
honesty,
that's
right?
part of it.
It's the integrity of the relationship. If you
that's
have
right.
somebody that will give it to you straight, but is also somebody that is there for you, because we know that it's not about like, I'm going to fail, because we know it's
Hmm.
all a learning. Life is just all about learning. It's not
Yeah.
failure. It's more insight. It's more data to do it better next time, to change something, to adjust. But those community members and those friends of yours that are there no matter what, like, I've gone through some pretty tough times, Nancy, and just your little pebbles of thinking of you have been so crucial.
Oh, so
Just going, okay, one more day, one more day. I said I wasn't going to cry. But I
It's
think
all
it
right
really
to
is.
cry. Crying gets
Yeah,
the sad out of you.
it's
well.
important. It's important for us to surround each other with badass females like yourselves.
Well, and you just like made an it's interesting that it segued into this because we were just having a conversation. I told Nancy that I was talking to someone else yesterday, and with everything that's gone on in the last year and all of the like emotional family things and then having a huge loss, and that combined with like a lot of my nonprofits are losing funding, like I have felt like I feel like a failure. Like yesterday I just had this like super low moment where I was like, I feel like a failure. And then today I was like, okay, I said to Nancy, you just basically said this, Misty, which was that's information to make a shift or to do something different. And so, and I said to her today, like, here are the things that I have to take a step back in these certain things, and I need to do it so that I can focus on these other areas. And
Because you got clarity when you saw that low point happen. That was part of what gave you the clarity to
yes,
go, "Oh, wait a minute. I am so upset about these things. If those are really, like, if I'm upset about those because they're really the things that are most important to me, then I need to be focusing on those."
right. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, I have to, and to be fair, some of them aren't the most important thing to me, but they're some of the things I'm going to have to take a step back on are really important to me, but I'll be able to, I know that because that's the case, when I get to a place where I need to get to, because there's been so many struggles this year, that I will be easily able to go back to it. And I want to
Yeah.
go back to it. And so it's like sometimes you just have to, that's just what you have to do. And you have to make space for, changing things up, like you said, so that you can view
Well,
things.
and you want the stuff that you're doing to feel authentic, not performative, right? You want to make sure
Yeah.
that these things are in line with your values.
Always.
And that was something that, when I was talking with Misty beforehand, we're saying, well, how can we learn from how men promote themselves, but in a way that still feels authentic and not performative, like
That
you're
doesn't feel
talking
like
about,
finger guns.
Question. Right? Right? I mean, so okay, I should clarify. We're talking both. When I say what can we learn from how men promote themselves, I mean both behaviors to emulate and those to avoid. Okay? So not only, because what you're talking about, Question, is important. It has to feel authentic. It can't, it has to be the things that are most important to you. I was just we were both at Intuit Connect. I don't know if you got to see Vanessa Van Edwards, but she did an amazing presentation on how the voices that are most trusted in our society are those that have both high warmth and high competence. And it's
Competence.
in
Yes.
that, yeah, it's in that space where they meet. And this is for men and women. That there were some gender differences in the data that she was showing, but in terms of people's reaction,
Mm.
that that's what we consider a trusted voice. So Misty, given how men promote themselves, what are some things that women can learn either to do or not to do when we are trying to get comfortable with self-promotion?
Yeah, I think that we have to number one is stop comparing ourselves and just trying to do what somebody else is doing. Because if you're looking at somebody else and going, ooh, I'm going to do it that way, then you're going to be in constant compare mode of like, oh, I didn't do it as well, or it didn't go as viral as there. They got more comments. So going back to where we started in the beginning of that, Angela just going, I'm going to fail and make it epic and learn as I go. What is it for you? Like for me, it is theatrical. Like right now, I'm going through a whole like forced metamorphosis because I really want to shift my brand. I'm starting to feel that itch. And so I am in consume mode of looking at all the different things out in the world that are not in my vein at all to go, what is exciting me so I can bring something new to my niche. And it's not new in the education, but just new for me on how I show up or how I want to build my presentations. Because I know if I do that, I'm creating something that is specific to my brand, my vibe, and that will do the heavy lifting for me to promote and have a brand voice than me figuring out how to craft the exact word that will get somebody to go, oh, I should take that speaking class, because there's so many right now. It's insane to me. So you have to figure out, like, what is it that is unique for you? What is it that you want to bring to the table that just excites you to no end? I am taking an upholstery class right now.
Are you really?
I've
always know about this. You're taking an upholstery?
Yes, I am. And so I was just talking to the woman who created it, Chair Whimsy. She's phenomenal. Her name is Wendy. I joked with her that we're the weather girls. Anyway, I'm taking this upholstery class, and any artistic hands-on thing that I can think of always shifts me. And it's picking fabric and figuring out what that is that lights you up to make something that is unlike what anybody else has in their space. And I think that is about our business. We are such unique individuals. Every single one of us brings something totally different to the table. Yet anytime we want to show up, we want to look at who else was successful and follow that so much to the T that we forget our own voice. So we just got to kind of go, okay, I soak it all in. I'm going to do it how I learned. Now, how do I make it mine?
I love this conversation so much. I feel like we've talked about mindset. We've talked about visibility. We've talked about pushing through fear. We talked about going meta, allyship. I mean, like you're just a wealth of knowledge, and I want our audience to know where they can learn more about the programs that you have coming up. I know you have a Q&A that's coming up soon. You have, although I don't know timing wise, if that's going to, we'll mention that in social media, but I think by the time this airs, your Q&A will already have passed. Just tell us a little bit about the things that you have coming up in the next, let's say 6 months that they might be interested in learning more about.
My women's cohort for theater public speaking is coming up.
Is that the intermediate class that Questian and I both got us both started? Okay.
Yes. Yeah. And to me, it is outside of the advanced retreat, which we'll talk about in a second, but the intermediate course, I feel we get to see such huge transformations, and it becomes this little pod of humans that just become friends and cheer each other on, and a community that truly lifts you. There's nothing like it to me in my life. To just watch that transformation and fill somebody's cup is my complete joy. So that's coming up, and that starts the first Wednesday of March. We already have like half of the seats are filled. So
oh wow, get on it, yo.
Yeah, seriously.
I will make sure the link to that is in our show notes for sure. That was an amazing experience for us both, as we've talked about numerous times on the show. And so, just to clarify, although it is an intermediate level class, it is the first class in your series with theater public speaking currently.
Yeah, I mean, it's the first class where we're hands-on with you and in a group session. We do have a beginner's course because we did do research and we found people are too scared to even show up if they need like that foundational help to any component that has live. And so we do have a beginner's course that we just launched maybe a couple of weeks ago.
Okay. I'll make sure I put that in the show notes as well.
Yeah. To help people just get that foundation so they're comfortable enough to show up. With like, if we don't have to be a part of your journey if you don't need us. But we've given that course to a whole organization called Safe You that helps women escape domestic violence. And watching that help them.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible.
It's a huge pride moment of like, and so I know I don't have to be there to handhold the journey. And that was another like life lesson of like, but I want to meet everybody.
I know you want to, yes. And it is an amazing experience. I mean, the group, if you do want the group support, if you, I mean, that was something that was huge for me. And, you know, I have like some dearest friends who came from the experience of going through the cohort. It was absolutely incredible.
So in terms of the intermediate cohort and the group sessions and settings, I have a love-hate relationship with it. When I say that, like, I am kidding, right? It's amazing and I love it, but I was terrified like going into it. And what I will say is that I'm happy I did because it's exercising that muscle. That's what gave me the ability to go from not being able to walk up to someone and talk to them and network at a conference to be able to speak up in a Zoom. And so it was like, it's uncomfortable. Yes, but you do it anyway. And like the results are there. So yeah, the group setting. And again, as Nancy said, then you come out with like all of these wonderful, amazing, like female colleagues that we see at conferences and get to share tips with, and it's incredible. And I was part of the advanced cohort. I did the first advanced cohort, and we got to work on our keynote. And like, I have never met someone who does not miss a detail. I mean, the amount of detail that you put into that, like, I was just like mind blowing. If you ever change your mind about, you know, your calling in life, like events, that's it there. You're be the most amazing event planner in the world. So.
Because that's the difference with the advanced course is that you actually have not just in person in Zoom, but in person. It culminates in an in-person experience where we all stay in a house together. And I have to agree with Questian. Your ability to plan that in-person retreat was pretty stunning.
Thank you. We spend like a good 9 months planning that few days in person. And to me, the underlying, because we always have that, what is the one thing we want? And to me, it's like, I want them to feel so loved that their cup overflows to those who need their message when they leave. And so that's why we
nailed it.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As always, when I'm with you, I feel like I learned so much, and it's also combined with the fact that it's a therapy session. I didn't cry today. So
Yay! All three of us made it through the episode without crying. Well, we must have focused on positive.
This is a miracle. I know. So as we wrap up, We want to ask our listeners to follow our She Counts podcast LinkedIn page, and please join in on the conversation by sharing under the episode Unmuted your favorite idea for helping one another unmute, especially when someone's starting to doubt their own volume.
And before we sign off, I want to leave you with a quote by Brene Brown, who, Misty, I know you're a big fan of as well. I got to meet her at Intuit Connect. She was actually like wrapping up her lunch. She ate lunch in the food court and was packing up afterward. And a bunch of people were going up to her. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to tell her about the podcast. And I did. I even gave her a She Counts pin and told her that we quote her all the time on the podcast. And she put her fists in the air and said, "Yay, I win the quote award. I'm so excited." So she was great. So one of her quotes is, she says, "When we screw up or fall down, many of us talk to ourselves in ways that we would never talk to someone we love and respect. Talking to ourselves from self-love and self-respect is a practice." There's something powerful about saying out loud what you'd say to a friend, Misty. I know you mentioned that. Maybe our homework this week is to notice when that inner critic pipes up and answer it the way you'd answer your best friend.
Love it. I love you both so much. Thank you for allowing me into your space.
We love you too. Thank you for being here with us on She Counts, the Real Talk podcast for women in accounting.
If something in today's episode hit home for you, well, that's exactly why we're doing this.
So you feel seen, heard, and never alone.
Remember that you can get CPE credit for listening at earmark.app. Links to that, as well as how to learn more about our sponsors' solutions and any other resource, including all of those studies. We have citations for them so that you know that's all for real. Those will all be in the show notes.
And please subscribe. Also, leave us a review because that helps other women find the podcast, and share it with another woman in accounting who you think needs to hear it as well.
Many thanks again to our wonderful friend and guest, Misty Megia. We're so glad you could join us today.
Love you. Wouldn't be anywhere else.
Love you. Aww. Thank you so much, and we'll see everyone in 2 weeks.
Take care.